Hello everyone. Today we will be learning the first chapter of Geography Class 7, Environment. Before we go on with the lesson, first of all let us try to understand the heading of our lesson, Environment. What is environment? Environment is everything which surrounds you and affects your life. So all the things that surround you, that you see around you, and that has an effect in your life is what we call environment. Here in this picture you see a family. You too have a family. You have your mother, you have your father, you have your brothers and sisters, you have your grandparents, and then you have your relatives. They too are part of environment. And in this picture you will see furnitures, books, and different kinds of things. Now if you look at the things that are around you inside your house, you will see different kinds of things like your television, the fridge, dining table, your bed, and so many other things. They are also a part of environment. Cars, bus, train, motorbikes, buildings, bridges, forests, they are also part of the environment. Now, for the humans to develop, we have developed different kinds of system for our development, and among them educational system is one of the most important. We go to school. Right now you are in your middle school. Later on you will go on to your high school. Then you will go on to higher secondary and so on. We get our education for our development, and they very much affect our life, and so they are also part of the environment. Likewise, our political system, the government, our prime ministers, our president, our chief ministers, our governors, our MLAs, they are the ones who look after our country. They are the ones who run the government, and they very much affect our life as well, and so they are also a part of the environment. Religious system. We follow different religion according to our beliefs, and they very much affect our lives, and they too are part of the environment. Now let us look, what is environment? Whatever you see in your surroundings, your school, buildings, blackboards, chairs, tables, books, land, mountains, rivers, trees, birds, animals, and so many other things, they are all parts of environment. So let's sum it up. The place, people, things and nature that surrounds any living organism is called environment. Environment, it comes from a French word environner, meaning neighborhood. You see your neighbors every day. If you're doing something outside your house, you see your neighbors, you talk to your neighbors, you see them every day. So then they are a part of your surrounding, and it comes from that word. So all the things that we see around us and that has effect in our life, they are what we call environment. I hope you are clear with my explanation. Now let's go on to the next picture. Components of environment. What is components of environment? Parts of environment. In other words, we have three here. They are classified into three groups: natural environment, human environment, and human-made environment. As you see in the picture, natural environment are the things that we find in nature, like water, atmosphere, air, land, and living things. They constitute the natural environment. Human environment, individual, yourself, family, community, religion, education system, economic system, political situation. All these, they constitute the human environment. And lastly, human-made environment. Human-made environment. In human-made environment, the things that are made by humans for our development. Like the buildings, bridges, parks, roads, industries, monuments, they are all made by humans for our development, and so they would be included in human-made environment. So we have three components of environment: natural environment, human environment, and human-made environment. Let's go on to the next picture. And natural environment, the first component that we talked about, is again divided into two: abiotic and biotic. Abiotic means non-living components like land, water, and air. Biotic would be living components like plants, animals, birds, insects, fungi, bacteria, humans itself. We are included in the biotic environment. Next picture. Domains of the environment. Our environment is again divided into four regions. All right, it is divided into four regions: lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. What is lithosphere? The first one, the solid portion of Earth, the place where we build our houses, the place we travel from one place to another, like the roads. They are included in lithosphere. They are lithosphere. Hydrosphere, area of water. Atmosphere, gaseous layer that surrounds Earth. And then biosphere, land, water, air are found together. It is in this biosphere where life is possible. A combination of land, water, and air. All right, let's go on to the next picture. Like we said, our environment is divided into four domains, four regions. The first one, lithosphere, which we called as land. Let's look into it. What is lithosphere? Solid crust, or the hard top layer of the earth on which we live, is what we call lithosphere. It is made up of rocks and minerals covered by a thin layer of soil. All right, and our lithosphere, it has an irregular surface. Why? Because it has different kinds of landforms such as mountains, plateaus, plains, valleys, etc. And the lithosphere is very important to us because it is on which it is the part on which we live, land, and then it provides us with forest, grassland, and it gives us different kinds of minerals for our development. And it is on this lithosphere where we produce most of our food, right, in the form of agriculture. So lithosphere, the first domain of the first domain of the environment. Let's go on to the next picture. You have here hydrosphere. When we say hydrosphere, what must come in your mind? Water. All right. Area covered by water is what we call hydrosphere. And it comprises of various sources of water and different types of water bodies like rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, glaciers, etc. All right, and hydrosphere can be in three forms. It can be in the form of ice, it can be in the form of water, and also in the form of water vapor. So we see water in different kinds, and you find them in different places, in the form of rivers, in the form of lakes, seas, oceans, glaciers, etc. Let's go on to the next picture here. Atmosphere. Air. You remember it like that, okay? Air. Atmosphere. The atmosphere is the thin layer of air that surrounds the Earth. And this atmosphere, it covers our Earth due to the gravitational force of the Earth. It is covering up the Earth, we could say. It doesn't spreads out into space, but acts like a blanket, covers up the Earth. Why is that so? It is due to the gravitational force of the Earth. It holds them together. And our atmosphere, they are very, very useful to us. First, oxygen. Let's talk about oxygen. Can anyone live without oxygen? No. All living organisms, all living things, we need oxygen. We need air. Without air, we cannot survive. And this is provided by our atmosphere. And when we say air, it is composed of different kinds of gases. All right. And here you have oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and so many other gases that constitute the atmosphere. And besides that, in the atmosphere, dust are present and water vapor is also present. Okay, next picture. Biosphere, the last domain of our Earth. It is in this sphere, in this zone, in this region where life is possible. If we were to talk about the three other domains like the lithosphere, the atmosphere, or hydrosphere, life is not possible. Can you live in water alone? No, it's not possible. Right? You need land, you need air. So when all these three come together, the three domains, air, land, water, when they come together, life is possible. So the part where life exists is what we call biosphere. All right. Next picture. Ecosystem. In ecosystem, there are two components, living and non-living. Living, biotic components, non-living, abiotic components. In living components, we have plants, animals, birds, insects, and in non-living, we have air, water, rainfall, soil, temperature. The living and the non-living components, they all depend on each other. Now let's look at the living components there. You have plants, animals, birds, insects. These depend on each other. Like for example, animals depend on plants for their food, and some birds depend on insects for their food, and insects in turn depend on plants for their food. Animals depend on another animal for their food, and so on and so forth. So they all are interdependent on one another. Likewise, the living components, they need air, they need water, they need land and temperature for them to survive. So living components depending on the non-living, and the living components depending on one another. This relation, all right, this complex relation is what we call ecosystem. Living organisms are dependent on each other and also on non-living components for survival. That is what I have just said. So what is ecosystem? It is a system formed by the interaction of all living organisms with each other and with their environment. So that is what an ecosystem is. When there is interaction of all living organisms, like I have said, animals depending on plants, and then other animals depending on another animal for its food, and then insects depending on plants for their food, and so on. And then the living organisms need air, water, soil, temperature, and so on. This interaction between the living, non-living, and between the living itself is what we call as ecosystem. And there could be an ecosystem of a large rainforest, grassland, desert, mountain, lake, river, ocean, and even small pond. And the ecosystem, it can be very different from one another. So let's look at an example of a pond ecosystem. In this picture, you will see different kinds of animals, and you will see a pond, like it's mentioned, pond ecosystem, and in that pond you see some ducks. Here, air is present, and it is used by all the living organisms here. They depend on it. And then you see water. Yes, animals, living organisms that you see here, they need water for their survival. And then the animals there are grazing, eating the plants, and then you see the bird on the tree. It might be for its source of food, eating insects that are in the pond or besides the pond. And the ducks that you see in the water, they are also looking for food in the water itself. So they depend on each other, all right, for their survival. And this system is what we call as pond ecosystem. And then in a large forest or in a desert area, the ecosystem might be different. So an ecosystem might be for a small area or can be of a very vast area. All right. And we also can talk about the ecosystem in terms of the planet itself as well. So let's go on to the next picture. Importance of our environment. Environment is our basic life support system. Why? Yes, they are our basic life support system because they provide us the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and provides us with land where we live. So environment is very important to us. And we, the humans, due to our development, due to our greed, we can say, we have been changing our environment from the past. We are still changing our environment now and will be changing our environment in the future as well. Early humans, let's say during the caveman time, all right, they were able to adapt themselves to the natural surrounding. They led a simple life and they fulfilled their requirement from the nature around them. All right. And as time went by, population increased, our needs increased, and then humans, they began to develop, they began to learn new things. They began to know how to grow crops. They began to learn how to domesticate animals. And with that, they began to live a settled life. During early human times, they lived a nomadic life. Nomadic means not staying stationary at one place, but moving from one part to another. So humans, during the early human times, they moved from one place to another in search of food, in search of water, in search of shelter. All right. They lived a simple life. But when humans began to live a settled life, he began to form families, and then the number of people began to increase, our population began to increase, our needs increased. And from where did we get our needs? We got it from our environment, from our surroundings. All right. And wheel was invented, surplus food was produced, barter system emerged, trade started, and commerce developed. Industrial revolution, transportation, communication revolution changed human life and led to modification of environment. All right. Now, because of our needs, we need more land where we can grow different kinds of crops, for building more houses, for building more roads, for setting up industries. Large areas of forests are being cleared and we are destroying our environment. All right. And if we do not take good care of our environment, then our future, all right, it's going to be very dark. All right. We are going to pay for the consequences. Our environment, why is it changing? Like I have said, increasing population and growing urbanization. Our needs are increasing. More schools, hospitals, industries, vehicles, roads, houses, etc. These all are changing our environment. We are modifying our environment and at the same time destroying our environment. You will see in this picture large area of forest being cut down, all right, so that industries can be set up. Then the rivers or lakes, our oceans, we are polluting them, all right. The smokes that come out from the industries, they are polluting the air. We are destroying our environment, and if we do not stop this, then our future, like I have said, is going to be very, very dark. And right now, the consequences that we are facing, the first picture you see there, our earth, it's as if it's on fire. Global warming. This is a very important topic that are being discussed, all right, by different environmentalists in different parts of the world. Our earth, the temperature of our earth is increasing year by year. If we look at the situation in Mizoram itself also, you will notice it's very hot, right? If we look back 5 years, 10 years ago, the temperature was not as hot as this. Our climate was not as hot as it is in the present. We are facing shortage of water right now. The PHE, they are telling it on the news that we are getting shortage of water. The rivers that are supplying us with water are becoming lesser and lesser in quantity. Why is that so? That is because we are not looking after our environment, and we are destroying it by burning up the forests. And because of this, the climate, they are not normal anymore. Our weather conditions, they are not normal anymore. Many animals that were found in the forests, they have become extinct. All right? No longer found on this earth. Why is that so? It is because of the actions of humans. It's due to the actions of us. And so if we do not look after our environment, if we go on destroying our environment, our air, our water, our forests, then the future, it's going to be very dark. At some places, while they are experiencing drought, shortage of water, land completely dried up, where rainfall hasn't occurred for months and months, in some other place, they are having floods. So the climate, the weather condition in different parts of the world are also now no longer predictable. All right, it's not normal anymore. And so we have to think about our environment. We have to change our environment so that we will provide a place suitable to live in for the future generations. Scientists are predicting that if we go on destroying our environment in the far future, water is going to be very scarce. Right now, even in Aizawl, like I have said, water is very scarce. Tuya vang emani I kantlong lui PHE ina tuya lak na bertepo tuna henin akang chat trepani mo achan chu ram noi te kan kit cherewa lo nei nante le insak nante le thing te kan la khateng khanin thil sang sang atan mo mihring ma mo phuruk nan khami awang khanin tlong lui mo tuna ram hnuai kan tiang te hi apoi mo na nei me mani mo enge kan ti chuanin tuna tlong hnara ram te po thingkung tam tak te an ki cherewa wangin ruwa tui te lo khol tu lein hnuai a khol tu chu ram hnuai te hi ni chung te chuanin an khol thei to lowa tui na bera kang cha kha chuanin lui kha chu tui tlem tual tual tu chu ne mei chu wang chuanin kan environment mo hi kan en kola thulani engtin nge environment hi kan en kolang kan ti chuanin ke chu no pangkan ye engma ka thiam lo in ti thei lo tu po mo mitin kan poimo vekani ti thei kan nei vekani nang ni pon engtin nge ma in la kang kan ti chuanin ol sam te ani in le khabu in man te in le khapuan man da na te mo film khura in ren taka in man chuanin heta paper te enga tanga an siam nge kan ti chuan thingkung le mau atang ten an siam ania mo paper siam don chuan mau te thingkung te ki ngai ta ni tuna paper in lo ren theu chuanin mo kum khata in ren wang khanin thingkung tam takha ki ngai lu nom the chuan in chunga tui in ren chuan mo hano lai te tui on char char te khating te kha in ban sana in bol nan te po bucket ni bathu bucket thum linga manglowa ren taka tui in man te khan mo khating te khanin heta environment kha mo you are saving your environment. So with that, we come to the end of the lesson. Now here is a picture of tlong mol. See the water that are available in our tlong river. It's becoming very less. Tui tlem to em ni he tlong. He ta tlong nar lung lei lampang ani ta a chuan tui have tlem em ani. Kumdanga tui tu nang huna om thi na kha om phato lo ani tui awang to. Mo chu wang chuanin heng te po mi thanem ngai pol ten dina chuanin tlong lui hei ai tui anga thei na tur ten ma an la mek chu tiang chuan mi tam takin kan environment kan ti chiat to hi siam that le tumin ma an lan na sa ni chunga chuanin nang ni po in tel thei chuan katikhan tu to kang with that we come to the end of our lesson. I hope you understand what I have been explaining, and thank you very much for listening. All right, thank you.